With that being said, you big dummies, you getting paid now.
Right.
Everybody now has an opportunity to pull up their chair and have a...
For the past year, Cheryl has been relentless in her criticism of Caitlin Clark, dismissing her as too experienced for a true rookie season, downplaying her impact, and even suggesting that her teammates aren't thrilled to play alongside her. The negativity hasn't just been frequent, it's been baseless.
Some of your peers, they will recognize, her game, but they won't recognize her impact.
Right.
How can you separate the two? It's kind of hard, right?
And I used, Jax, you're absolutely right. And I was like, come on, you big dummy.
Then basketball legend Cheryl Miller entered the conversation. Speaking on the All the Smoke podcast, the former coach of Caitlin Clark set the record straight, directly addressing Sheryl Swoopes' claims and shutting down the misleading narratives. Miller didn't mince words, making it clear where she stands. Her strong defense of Clark not only reinforces the rookie's potential, but also fuels excitement for the Indiana Fever's future. Want the full breakdown? Let's dive in.
Time Player of the Year, two-time national championship, two-time tournament MVP, first woman to dunk in an organized game, gold medalist. Thank you for making time. Welcome to the show, Cheryl Miller.
Before we break down everything Miller had to say, let's address the bigger question. Why is a basketball legend so determined to discredit the WNBA's most promising rookie? From Caitlin Clark's college dominance to her first steps in the pros, Sheryl Swoopes' criticism has been relentless. But what's behind it? Let's take a closer look at the ongoing narrative.
Let's also talk about how much more experience that gives you over other players coming in, right? So people say, dang, like he or she's killing them, but you have a 25-year-old playing against a 20-year-old.
Swoopes' criticism began with wildly inaccurate claims about Clark's college career. One of her most baffling assertions, that Clark was a 25-year-old playing against 20-year-olds at Iowa. The reality? Clark was 22, a standard age for a college senior. When called out on the misinformation, Swoopes backtracked, blaming the mix-up on COVID eligibility rules, an excuse that didn't quite hold up.
Caitlin Clark right now probably takes about 40 shots a game.
Carry on.
I know you like that.
Hell yeah.
I said that because when she comes to the league, regardless of what team she goes to that has vets on that team, she probably ain't gonna get 40 shots a game.
But Swoopes wasn't done. She then claimed Clark took 40 shots per game, painting her as a reckless volume shooter. The reality? Clark averaged just 22.7 attempts per game. The irony? Swoopes herself took 19.2 shots per game in her senior year, barely 3 fewer than Clark. Talk about throwing stones from a glass house, and when Clark was on the verge of breaking the all-time NCAA scoring record, Swoopes pivoted, again questioning the legitimacy of the milestone, suggesting Clark needed a 5th year to achieve it. The shifting narratives were hard to ignore.
You asked me about Caitlin. If you're going to break a record, to me, if it's legitimate, you have to break that record in the same amount of time that that player set it.
Okay.
Right? So if Kelsey Plum set that record in 4 years, well, Caitlin should have broke that record in 4 years. But because there's a COVID year and then there's another year, you know what I mean? So she's already had an extra year to break that record. So is it truly a broken record?
This claim was completely false. Clark broke the record in 4 years, just like the legends before her. Swoopes conveniently ignored the fact that Clark could have used a 5th year due to COVID eligibility, but instead chose to enter the WNBA. Swoopes also predicted Clark would struggle in the league. Yet, as Clark shattered rookie assist records and established herself as one of the WNBA's top playmakers, Swoopes suddenly fell silent. Clark closed out her rookie season averaging 19.2 points and 8.4 assists per game, earning Rookie of the Year honors and silencing every last critic.
I didn't say she wouldn't be good. What I said was I didn't think Caitlin or Angel would come into the league and dominate immediately, which I don't think either of them did.
Respectfully, there is absolutely no way, even when we're trying to sit here and play semantics about dominating, there's no way that anyone could ever leave this season in saying that both Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese didn't dominate. You would have to further explain what dominance means for you to not sit here and say that a player who is leading the league in assists while averaging 19 to 20 points didn't dominate that season.
One of the most telling moments came during Swoopes' appearance on Angel Reese's podcast. While insisting she had no issue with Clark, she continued to undermine her, making it a textbook case of saying one thing and doing another.
I've known Cheryl since she was in college. I helped do her shoe deal with Nike in 1993, took her to her first SBs. I've known Cheryl, I've coached her, have a lot of respect for her. I called her when Caitlin was still playing at Iowa and she had just broken Maravich's record. And it was all over the place, as you and I have discussed, that there was this quote by Cheryl that said, Caitlin was, 25 years old. She was, however old, 24 years old. She was a fifth-year senior. Right. She was taking 40 shots a game. Her records were illegitimate.
The basketball world quickly took notice of this pattern, and before long, Swoopes was removed from broadcasting a Fever game. She was replaced by Nancy Lieberman, who didn't hesitate to call out the misinformation surrounding the rookie sensation.
I got off the treadmill and I called her as a friend, and I said, you can say whatever you want. You can have your own opinion about anybody, but you do have to get the statistics right. I mean, facts matter. And if you just get ahead of this and just say, hey, I made a mistake on my numbers, then this thing is over and everybody respects you for your opinion. And, you might like Boston, I might like the Yankees. It's okay to have difference of opinions. Well, she got upset with me on the phone, and I was like, Cheryl, I'm not doing anything to hurt you. I'm just sharing. We're talking. And so our relationship, it pretty much is not happening at this point. I tried to talk to her at the Final Four. Right. She didn't want to talk to me. My life's going to be good or great with or without Sheryl Swoopes in my life.
Miller didn't hold back. She addressed the false narratives head-on, shutting down the exaggerated. Criticism and giving Clark the credit she's earned. As someone who's actually coached her, Miller brought first-hand knowledge to the conversation, something the critics conveniently lacked. Her words carried weight, not just because of her legendary status, but because they were rooted in facts, not agendas. This wasn't just a defense of Clark. It was a reality check for those determined to discredit one of the most impactful rookies the WNBA has ever seen. And just like that, the conversation shifted.
Jax, you're absolutely right. And I was like, come on, you big dummies. Is she getting hyped? Yes. But she was in the backyard. She was putting in the same time, sometimes maybe more than you were.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I can't fault her for what she was given.
Miller highlighted what truly separates Clark from the noise. Her relentless dedication to the game. She emphasized that Clark's success isn't a product of media hype or favoritism, but the result of years of hard work, skill, and an undeniable competitive edge. She also called out the double standard at play. While some players are celebrated for their confidence and aggressive play style, Clark is often criticized for the same traits. Miller wasn't having it. She made it clear, Clark isn't just good for the game, she's essential to its growth. And just like that, the debate wasn't about narratives anymore. It was about facts.
Look, as much as she was given, you can't tell me if that door would have swung the other way where she didn't live up to the hype.
Right.
Come on, folks are still waiting for her to fall.
Exactly.
Come on.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So, with that being said, you big dummies, you getting paid now.
It's the truth critics don't want to admit. Clark's presence has elevated the entire league, including the paychecks of those criticizing. Ticket sales are soaring, TV ratings are breaking records, and merchandise is flying off the shelves. Yet some still try to downplay her impact. Like it or not, Caitlin Clark is driving this surge in attention, and even her biggest critics are benefiting from it.
You recently coached the WNBA All-Star game. You spent some time with Caitlin Clark.
Best coaching job ever.
Best coaching job
Best coaching job ever.
Being around Caitlin Clark, how was the experience for her? She's such a big star. I mean, the sky's the limit for her. To be around her, just talk about the type of person she is and how much she loves the game.
I'm going to be honest because it needs to be said. I can relate to that young lady, and I felt for her. Mm-hmm. I know what it's like to be hated. I know what it's like to be a black woman and hated because of my
skin.
color.
Yeah.
What makes Miller's defense so powerful is that she's not. Speaking from speculation, she's speaking from direct experience. After coaching Clark in the 2024 WNBA All-Star Game, Miller had a front-row seat to evaluate her game beyond the highlight reels. And what she discovered surprised even her.
I can't imagine this young lady, I don't want to use hate, but despised. And people just having, she brought some on herself a little bit because she's cocky for a good reason.
Confident.
And I love that about her. But to watch the dynamics and the media, they had their narrative. And I was pleased and proud to see the narrative wasn't the truth.
I was pleased and proud to see the narrative wasn't the truth, Miller revealed, dismantling months of media spin in a single sentence. She went further, offering rare insight into what truly makes Clark special. Next Vios, behind Miller. This technical breakdown of Clark's skills lies something even more significant, a genuine emotional bond forged in the trenches of Clark's toughest moments. When the Fever finally secured their first win of the 2024 season, Miller didn't just congratulate Clark. She gave her something almost no one else had, unconditional support when the rookie needed it most.
Watching her pass, and I didn't know how talented she was and how well she sees the game in a 3D version, thinker. Defensively, a lot better than I thought and gave her credit for. So watching her and just spending a little time. And one thing, guys, that I've learned is to step back and let these kids be themselves.
That embrace between Miller and Clark after Indiana's first victory wasn't just a routine exchange between basketball figures, it was a defining moment. It revealed just how isolated Clark had felt amid the relentless storm of criticism surrounding her entry into the league. Miller recalled the raw emotion of that interaction. I gave her the biggest hug that I could. When she saw me, she was like, "Oh man, finally somebody who's on my side." She was getting hit with everything left and right.
She was getting hit with everything left and right, and I just said, I hugged her, I said, "I'm so proud of you." I go, savor this. Use this as a formula. I said, but keep being you. I said, no matter what, keep being you.
In that vulnerable moment, Miller didn't just offer empty platitudes, she provided the kind of guidance that only someone who had walked a similar path could give. I'm so proud of you. Savor this. Use this as a formula, but keep being you no matter what. Keep being you. These weren't just comforting words. They were a lifeline to a rookie drowning in expectations and scrutiny.
Heavy as a crown that she's wearing right now.
Right.
And it wasn't something that she anointed herself. It's something that's been placed on her head. And I hope people understand that. But it's everything that she's dealing with.
When Cheryl Miller speaks, the basketball world listens, and for good reason. Her voice carries the weight of an extraordinary legacy. 3 Naismith Player of the Year awards, 2 national championships, an Olympic gold medal, and a place in the Basketball Hall of Fame. But Miller's support for Caitlin Clark goes beyond her impressive resume. She sees something in Clark that many critics overlook, the exceptional court vision that makes her more than just a scorer.